Escalating crime levels in communities like Eldoradopark in Johannesburg South have over the past few years led to violent incidents of mob justice. A lack of faith in the justice system continues to be a burning issue as these communities grapple with the drug pandemic and its ripple effect on crime.
So as die community van die Eldoradopark nie gaan by mekaar staan om die drugs op 'n einde te kry, gaan dit nowhere kom nie. Dit gaan nowhere kom nie.
I mean, for how much longer do they want to gather and know the challenges? By now, the world knows the challenges that Eldoradopark faces.
It's a drug war that is taking place because we also have received intelligence that we have guys from Cape Town and KZN that has infiltrated our community that's actually assisting in all of these brutal killings that we are seeing now.
23 people have been killed in Westbury over the past year due to drug-related murders and gang violence. Special Assignment investigates the root causes of crimes in these communities whose unified cry is no justice, no peace.
When you away from all them damn snakes, just leave them in the jungle, someday they'll get ate. No friend of mine, no friend of mine.
You are not alone is the resounding call of this group counselling meeting for families of the most recent victims of crime in Eldoradopark. It is spearheaded by the local Drug Action Committee.
And then they asked me when can I speak to the investigating officer. Then I said, well, whenever I phone him, he doesn't answer my calls. Then he phones him in his office, right? And then he says, no, I phoned her yesterday. Then I get so hyper and I take my phone out and I show them. Show me when did he phone me. I spoke to her yesterday. I'm in court now, I still don't have nothing.
My son walked out of the shop and this man jumped off the bike because he saw me. And my son, then that's where he cut his neck open. My son tried running away from him, all the children. Her children was infected. Most of the neighbors were infected because of my son. He fell down in front. Where's this guy? He wanted to run away. Everyone jumped on him, hit him. They almost get you. Today I understand why we do stuff when we kill people because the cops don't do anything. The other guy is out. Where is he? When I asked him when was it? Tuesday night. Asked him. So now what's the story now? What's going on? No, we went to his house twice, and I'm like, he's working, isn't it?
Don't touch myself. And he showed me that he went and he murdered her. She had this top on. She had brown bags under this top. After he killed her, he washed her and changed her. And he clothed her into fresh clothes. The father looks at me, he says, "You're right, Mom." Yes, I'm right, Mom, because I can't do it either. I'm right, Mom, I am mad. I go to doctors, they say to me, don't allow depression, anxiety, and you name it. To take control of you. How can't I allow it?
Wherever you are today, this too shall pass in due time. You may not feel like that today and it's okay. Okay, everything is okay. But there is light at the end of the tunnel.
We meet the mother of the most recent victim in this group. Her son was murdered the night before.
Dis my oudste seun. Lelik doodgeskiet gewees het en gejag gewees het met die kar en uit in 'n ander kar gebots wat hulle gebang het laat hom keer. Laat het hom kar keer laat hy nie verder kan ry nie. Hulle skiet hom eers in sy hand, hy was na 'n funeral toe. Ek weet my hart is dood. Hulle het nie net my kind doodgemaak, hulle het my hart doodgemaak.
A lot of family members that have decided to come together to strengthen their voices, and basically they all have one thing in common. They have lost a loved one and they all feel that the justice system as well as SABC has failed them. So the purpose of this group is to unite as families in Eldoradopark. We have been losing loved ones over the past just for this year alone. I think every second week someone is gunned down in our community. And it is sad to know that these families are going through the trauma, going through the motions, all on their own. It's the first thing that these family members complain about, corruption, feeling sort of hopeless. The fact that whoever they're going to, it is alleged that the cops are being paid off, by these suspects, and they just feel that they're fighting a losing battle. And this is why they've decided to unite, because I think the more publicity we give their cases, when we start putting faces to these statistics, maybe someone will pay attention, because it cannot continue. Just yesterday, we had another a son of a family that was here today, last night, that was gunned down. So to me, it almost feels like this is happening weekly now, and nobody's doing anything about it.
Just a few weeks ago, Edmund was celebrating life until he was brutally gunned down in Eldoradopark in what resembled a calculated hit, when several unknown gunmen opened fire on his vehicle. At his funeral, he is mourned by his close family and members of the community. According to his family, Edmund used to steal cars for a living, what people in Eldoradopark call spinning. His death is suspected to be connected to his former lifestyle.
Even to forgive the enemy, those that have done these deeds, Father, we ask this morning on behalf of the family, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. Mighty men for the last 6 months has fallen in our community. Mighty men are like shields. What is a shield? It's protection. It's a defense. It's security. It's guards. These men that died for the last 6 months have guarded their families. They were shields. They tried to block. They tried to stop things. They tried to avoid things. Now a big hole is left in our defense. Because mighty men has fallen.
As the procession makes its way to the cemetery, it is apparent that a tense atmosphere prevails at this funeral. Several police members were deployed to guard the procession to avert any further violence. Earlier in the week, after Edmund was murdered, 3 other people were wounded in a drive-by shooting which occurred at Edmund's family home in Old Eldoradopark.
The Lord is my shepherd. I shall not want. Bringing me to lie down.
Look, they've been looking for Edmund for quite a while. Now I would say to them, you actually got what you want. Edmund is dead. And that should have been, or should be, enough. As I stand now, I got a call that one of the Engkans of the Eng guys, he was actually at the hall where we had the service. So now you ask yourself, what do they actually want? And to me, it's very hard to understand how a human can act the way that they act and terrorize Eldoradopark.
The recent killing of Edmund Rosenberg brings the current number of murders in Eldoradopark to 48 for the most recent period, according to the police. Drug-related crimes stand at 2,117. The drug pandemic in Eldoradopark has claimed the lives of many young people over recent years as their addiction has led to scenes like this one. The untimely death of addicts in lolly lounges has fueled the anger of this community towards drug syndicates. In an act of desperation, the community has often resorted to burning down the alleged drug dens.
Vandaag het ons 'n groot los gesuffer due to the fact dat onze community te min doen omtrent drugs. Ons moet vandaag 'n broer, 'n pa, 'n oom, 'n vriend wat niks te doen, uit nie eens 'n sigaret gerook. Vandag moet ons hom gaan begrawe. So as die community van die Eldoradopark nie gaan by mekaar staan om die drugs op 'n einde te kry, gaan dit nou wegkom nie. Dit gaan nou wegkom nie.
The community has taken a stance, as you see here. They are saying no to drugs. They are saying that drug lords should move out of this area, and they are saying the police should do their job. Otherwise, the community will do the job for the police.
The tragic murder of Junaid Duplessis 6 months ago has allegedly been linked to the drug pandemic. This has caused the community to once again take the law into their own hands. In this cell phone footage, which was captured by a community member, the alleged suspect of Junaid's murder is removed from his home, beaten up and stabbed by this angry mob. Despite attempts by local community leaders to stop the killing, the suspect succumbed to his wounds. The Eldoradopark community's sentiments towards the lack of services delivered by the police and the justice system becomes evident when a violent crime is committed. In this instance, a child was raped and killed, and the community went to the police station to demand that the perpetrator be handed over to them. This resulted in a violent standoff between the protesters and the police. Failure by the police to keep suspects behind bars in Eldoradopark is a growing concern for the anti-drug organisation or local drug action committee, which has been lobbying government for the past few years to intervene in the drug pandemic.
Over the last year, we've had the highest office, visiting our community. We've had premiers, we've had MECs, we've had everyone here, and we've had so many promises being made to this community. And unfortunately, it is always empty promises. That is the reality. Unfortunately, whenever someone comes here, an MEC, it is always, yes, we have put together a task team and we are planning, we are working on it, we are gathering the challenges. I mean, for how much longer do they want to gather and know the challenges? By now, the world knows the challenges that Eldoradopark faces.
These heated lobbying sessions with government often see the local drug action committee at loggerheads with the officials.
Local communities, we are going on a zero tolerance. We cannot have another child being buried because of someone using substances because they have
My undertaking is the MMC for Public Safety for the community of Eldoradopark is to say that we'll make sure that this immediate operation will be planned and commenced about the fighting of drugs, violence, illegal guns and shooting. I've also urged the Department of Community Development and Social Services in the province of Gauteng to say that we need to do much more to bring service to those that's in need, the vulnerable, the children, the women. We need to bring attention to their needs also. We're working very closely with the South African Police Services, especially on the Gauteng provincial level, that the information intelligence need to be gathered. A lot of the crimes and a lot of the fighting relates to turf. So criminal and gangster elements, they are moving in, and that says something to us, Eldoradopark has become a war zone for gangsters, and we need to tackle that before it gets too serious and too difficult to manage.
This war on drugs in Eldoradopark faces a new threat. The community believes that there is now an infiltration of Cape Town gang members.
It's a drug war that is taking place because we also have received intelligence that we have guys from Cape Town and KZN that has infiltrated our community that's actually assisting in all of these brutal killings that we are seeing now. I think strategically you begin to see people that you have never seen before within the areas, and the groups or the circles in which they find themselves tell you that we have a problem. And I think SABC is well aware of what we are faced with, and they will be intensifying their process in terms of so that it does not lead to what we're seeing in Westbury currently.
We spoke to FAROUK MEYER, a well-known businessman in this community who is accused by some of being behind recent shootings. We approached him for his side of the story.
I'm a simple person as FAROUK MEYER. I'm a very simple person. I went to prison for what I believed in. I was framed along the way, but I believe again that everything happens for a reason. God knows alone. I came out, I started from scratch. I built this place here, this out of nothing. It was only a piece of land here. And I'm a person who respects people. People who really knows me knows who I am. And I have people also that that will tell you about me, what kind of person I am. I'm a respectable person, I respect people, and I will not degrade other people no matter what. And whatever said, I believe that if I did something wrong, whatever, I believe that there's two sides of a story. If you ask me direct, I will give you a straight answer. And I feel that it's not fair to talk about stories in the street and to talk about people, some things that you don't know. You first have to investigate and check whether it's true or not before you take the story further.
In terms of the perceptions that the community sometimes have of you, where do you think some of the negative press comes from?
I believe that it's most people, it's not in the community itself, I think it's individuals that is spreading rumors and stuff, and other people have the tendency of not investigating or finding out what is a true story, and they will relate the story just as they get them, and others will add on the story. If people are saying they have a right, and if anyone say that I'm part and parcel of any wrongdoing in the community, there is procedure to follow, and if you know all that stuff, I think it will help us all, including the SAPS, to report such matters to the police.
As the sun sets on Eldoradopark, the perpetrators of the most recent murders remain nameless, despite numerous police operations that occur here. The community of Westbury, 30 kilometers from Eldoradopark, has also been plagued by gang violence for many years, despite a peace treaty that was forged by the local church between the rival factions in 1999. Recently, the peace accord has been broken. 23 people have been killed here since November last year. The escalated gang shootings have kept the community hostage. SHAHIEM ISMAIL is a community leader who is concerned about the high rate of gang-related murders in the past year.
I'm very, I feel so despondent in terms of our fight to bring peace to the community and to try to deal with these issues of drugs and with the unemployment and the situation overall in the community. Is that the government has let us down. They failed us completely. If you speak about over the years, let's just take it 5 years back, not even longer than 5 years. Look at the amount of people that have been killed in these communities. Look at the amount of people that have been injured, the amount of families that have been affected by this violence. And all the meetings that we've been to, all the efforts that we've put in to reach out to government at various levels, government has failed us completely with all the, and I'm speaking about government of national unity, including the oppositional parties. They have failed these communities very badly. And there's not that political will or that will from government to resolve this violence and to get rid and to rid out the drug situations within our communities.
The recent violence has claimed the life of a priest of a local church who was a state witness in a gang-related shooting. A few weeks ago, a young woman was shot here while working as part of a construction team in Westbury. She's currently recovering in hospital.
Last year, between October and November, we've lost over 23 lives. And it's sad when you hear something like that a priest has been shot, or an innocent girl has been shot, or an innocent victim has been shot. It breaks the heart of everybody. And I don't think that anybody can justify such type of killings. And it just shows that, that the loss of life and the value of life has really decreased in terms of the violence. That there's no value for life in these communities. And that is what we need to restore back, the value of life, the value of humanity, which is priceless.
SHAHIEM has noticed a stronger presence of Cape Townian gang members who seem to be making Westbury their new playing ground.
What we've observed is that there is an outside party, especially from Cape Town side, where Cape Townians are being brought in to do the shootings and the killings, and of course there has been facts that certain Cape Townians were shot dead and they had to be taken back to Cape Town to be buried. So it's not a hearsay, it's a reality that there's an outside influence from Cape Town that's influencing this gang violence within Westbury and in Eldoradopark and these areas. So yes, that's one of our biggest fears, that we We should find a way jointly with Cape Town now. How do we resolve this violence? Because we cannot allow Westbury and these other communities, or even the Western Cape, to continue like this, where our own people are killing one another.
So instead of making this boy...
Reverend Favor is a former gang member in Westbury who says he traded his gun for a Bible several years ago. He hosts a program on a local community radio station.
99% van Westbury se mense het gesê, Dene steek nou weg agter die Bybel.
Ja.
Dene het weer baie sakke. Dene hy hol nou weg vir hom dinge. Sien jy? Maar nou die Here soek reeds die moeilike mense. Want hy sê, I will use the foolish things of this world to confound the wise.
Reverend Favor is involved in re-establishing a peace treaty between the gangs in Westbury with several other prominent church leaders in the community.
Look, gangsterism gives you a sense of belonging. And that back then, there was no role models in our community. Our role models were the gangsters. And I believe many kids my age had a dream of becoming a teacher, doctor, or whatever. My wish was to become a gangster.
See the ghetto with me, I'm in these ghetto streets. OG's missing teeth, YG's toting heat. Why?
He believes that the community is living in constant fear, and the recent killing of a witness has made people here lose faith in the justice system.
And the crimes are taking place during the course of the day, you see. The thing that is really troubling now the community is, obviously there will be witnesses, but the witnesses are too afraid to come to the fore, because witnesses are also being wiped out.
ALLISTAIR FREDERICKS is actively involved with the local drug action committee in Eldoradopark and knows what the current increase in gang-related incidents points towards.
Look, we've noticed a presence of Cape Townians in Eldoradopark. We wouldn't know who the gangsters are or who are not the gangsters. But every time that activities transpire, we find that it's Cape Townians that are involved. And if you look at the areas where substance abuse is especially rife, the dealing and the selling of it, and even the usage of it, you find in these lolly lounges, many a times it's controlled by Cape Townians. They are the majority at these places currently. And if you look at how it evolved a couple of years ago, where it evolved to the various gangs that were battling each other out. It was within our community, but that battle was around also territory, but more an economical part of it. And now it's become, I think it's probably an extremely lucrative business now, that it's come to a point where people have no value for life.
The University of Johannesburg has established a research unit dedicated to understanding the substance abuse trends in communities like Westbury and Eldos.
Yeah, that's not new. I think even in the 70s, 80s, 90s, you had these cross-pollination or even association with people in other areas and so on. And people from Johannesburg going to Cape Town, for instance, and vice versa. And in so doing, if you have encroaching on each other's territories, it's easier to bring someone in from outside who's not known to the community to pull a job, so to speak, and disappear without being, or with less of a chance of being identified and caught, convicted, and the rest of it.
As the authorities drag their feet, communities like Westbury and Eldoradopark, which are living in a constant state of trauma, are caught in the middle of a violent drug war. Until the authorities take decisive action to root out the culprits, the bodies continue to pile up, leaving their loved ones bereft.
a river in my memory, like the clouds across the sky.